Hail and welcome back to Mega Man 5 for the Game Boy. In the last part we took on the first 4 of these new Star Droid enemies, and in this part we'll be taking on the other 4. And first up is Pluto here, which Pluto, I'm not quite sure why he's got the whole furry thing going on. Like, I guess the big claws are meant to be intimidating and whatnot. Maybe he's like the more aggressive robot version of the Disney character Pluto, I don't know. But he is named after the dwarf planet Pluto. At the time this game came out, as I mentioned, that would have been recognised as a full planet, but as of 2006 it's no longer considered one. It is just a dwarf planet that I believe the little circle that Pluto resides in is known as the Kuiper Belt. I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm obviously going by things I made a note of off the internet earlier from researching. So anyone who understands astronomy better than I do, you know, you'll probably have a giggle at how I fucked that up. But yes, the other namesake is the god of the underworld, so basically the devil from the particular mythology, I guess. But yes, in Pluto's stage, we'll actually be coming here twice in this part. You'll see why we're coming back here later on once we've been to the next Robot Master, or Star Droid. I keep going to call them Robot Masters because they basically fill in the role of Robot Masters, but you know, it's slightly different. This game has a different story, so I should probably respect that. But yes, in terms of recent Mega Man happenings since I last recorded for this playthrough, Mega Man 11 has come out. And it's kind of obvious I'm going to have to take the opportunity to talk about that. Honestly, so far I've played a few levels in. I started with Blockman and I've been sort of going along in weakness order, and I'm up to Bounce Man right now. Like Bounce Man's stage, I haven't beat him yet. I'm kind of a bit torn on it. I'm not that impressed by Mega Man 11 really. Like, there's the art style, which I just don't think is very good. And that's the first thing that when we first saw this game, when we first saw Mega Man 11 even, I was really not sold on at all. I kind of thought it looked a bit bland. It doesn't have the same charm to it as the NES games. Like, they're going for this more modern 2.5D kind of art style. If you think, it's not quite as bad as, say, Sonic 4, but it's not that far off. It's not charming in any way, it's just there. Also, hi Proto Man, I'm not quite sure what he's doing here other than giving us a health upgrade we didn't really need. Not even an upgrade, just like a healing item we didn't need. But yeah, I don't like the art style of Mega Man 11. I think it just looks a bit bland. It really has no character to it at all, no personality behind it. It really doesn't have the same cohesive look as the NES games, or even like the Game Boy games for that matter. But that's just a minor thing, like a graphical thing, I can sort of get over that. What I can't really get over is the difficulty balancing seems a little bit whack. The normal difficulty seems harder than a normal difficulty has traditionally been in Mega Man. So I've seen a few people saying that really the casual mode is the equivalent to what should be a normal difficulty. But the problem I have there is that casual mode is a bit easy. And like, there is an easier mode than casual, but still casual mode seems a little bit on the easy side from what I expect for Mega Man. Like, I still get stumped by a few things, but like, that's what I expect from Mega Man. Mega Man traditionally hasn't been an easy series, so I expect a few things to trip me up here and there. But, you know, I feel like there should be a sort of midpoint between those two difficulty settings. Which, I know there's already 4 difficulty settings, so maybe it'd be more a case of retooling the ones that already exist. Or maybe just the normal difficulty if it had more liberal checkpoints, because that's kind of what makes normal mode annoying for me, and the fact that you get quite far in and then there's something that like trips you up and you're all the way back again. So maybe the normal difficulty mode, but with more liberal checkpoints, would make it feel a little bit less intimidating to play on the normal difficulty. I don't know, like, I'm not a game designer, I don't know whether there's rhyme or reason behind this. I just think, for my personal tastes, I think normal is too hard and casual is too easy, so I can't really find a comfortable difficulty level for me personally. Though, what I will say, out of the levels I've played, I quite like Blockman stage once I got past the irritating spinning Beyblade things. Like, there's 2 little mini bosses where it's like these spinny top things that sort of, they have a pattern. It just took me a little while to realise what it was, so for the first few attempts I was playing through that level, I did get twatted by them more than I care to admit. But like, I came to like the level after a while. It's a bit long, but it's fine. And that's a common trend I found, actually, that the levels do go on a little bit longer than I would like. Outstay their welcome a little bit, not majorly so, but enough for it to be noticeable for me. Like, there's Acid Man stage. I think it's called Acid Man, the one with... Oh, yeah, it is, because he's got the acid weapon that's kind of like a shield thing. That was actually quite a cool level. There's a few cool different under acid sections, kind of treated like underwater, where you can do the slide onto a platform and whatnot. I quite like that level. The worst level I've seen so far from the ones I've played is actually fucking Bounce Man stage. Because if you don't like Spring Man stage from Mega Man 7, which I don't, imagine that, but even more annoying. Maybe even more annoying. At the best case situation, it's on par with how annoying Spring Man stage is. I really don't like it. The bouncing around mechanic gets more annoying than challenging, and I could honestly just do without it. And the fact that it really doesn't look cool at all, and the music is a bit shit as well, it really doesn't make for the most pleasant experience. It just doesn't. It's kind of bland, honestly. So yeah, I'm not really that impressed with Mega Man 11. Maybe it'll grow on me, I hope it will. But considering the series it's from, and how much I've come to like the other games, it's kind of a weak entry. Maybe I'm having the same feeling towards it as I do with 7, in that it's not that great, and it's also being killed by the fact that I'm naturally comparing it to the NES games just because it's from that same series. But this is Uranus' stage, and yeah, gonna have my little giggle to myself about that one. Uranus is the 7th planet from the Sun, and Uranus' name doesn't actually come from a Roman god. Uranus' name comes from the Greek god of the sky, and that's spelled Uranus. I doubt if that's how it's actually pronounced or not, but either way, it sounds a little bit interesting for us to say it. But yeah, so that's from a Greek god rather than a Roman god. So I guess that's just one thing, that maybe it was found at a different time. I don't really know that much about it. Like, the last time I properly looked into any kind of astronomy stuff was way back in primary school. I had a school project on it. So I remember looking up the planets of the solar system. This was before 2006, I seem to recall this. Actually, it would have been 2005, thinking back to the year that I did that. So my school project on the planets in the solar system would be instantly outdated the next year. Gotta be on top of trends and whatnot, but hey. God, 2005 was 13 years ago, Jesus. But yeah, here is Uranus. His weakness is Pluto's attack, which I went to call it a weapon. It's not really a weapon, given you just sort of sliding into him, hurting yourself in the process if you're not careful. So yeah, like, you just want to be a little bit careful there, but if you've got Pluto's weapon, then you can sort of just ram into him, and that does that. It hits him down. Now, one thing that we did see on screen while I was talking about the Mega Man 11 stuff, I stopped off to get a crystal in a little subsection of the level, and each one of these latter 4 stages has a crystal hidden in the level somewhere. So similar to how Mega Man 4 Game Boy had the W, I, L and Y plaques that you could collect, in this game the last 4 bosses have the crystals that you find. And if you collect all 4 of them, Light will be able to use them to get you a special upgrade. And that is the Energy Saver upgrade. As we're seeing here getting explained to us. So that's basically that you can just use your special weapons a bit more regularly. It's kind of useful. I will be going out of my way to get all the crystals just to show them off, and that's why I'll be going back to Pluto stage. And I'll be doing that next, actually. Because that's the thing, that to find these you do need some of the other weapons that you can get. So I'm cutting to where it is now, just past this little sub-boss in Pluto stage. Got to show it off a little bit, but you're going to need Uranus's ability to move these little broken block things. Which is, come to think of it, that is basically Gutsman's weapon. So although they're not explicitly reusing Gutsman in this game like they're doing a lot of them, he's still kind of here in spirit. But yeah, I'll just cut back to it so we can go straight on to the next Star Droid. I'm having to train myself not to say Robot Master. I really naturally go to say Robot Master because I've covered so many Mega Man games on this channel now. It's like, I think of the robots that you gotta fight, I think Robot Master, not Star Droid, even though they've completely changed up the story in this one, and I spent a long time going over that in the first part. No, I'm still stuck in my ways. Which I'm surprised I'm not going to like call him Maverick here, really, given that the most recent Mega Man game I played, after kind of being unimpressed with 11, I actually went and recorded Mega Man X3 for my FC Playthroughs channel. Now X3, I don't really like it that much. I did find a route that reduces the backtracking a little bit, because that's like one of people's biggest points of contention with Mega Man X3, in the fact that unlike say X1, where there's a very easy route that you go to and there's not really that much going back to find items and whatnot, X3, if you're going weakness route, then you're going to be going back to levels a lot. But no, there is a route you can take that you start off with Tunnel Rhino, and forget which order, like the order's actually listed on Strategy Wiki, the website, if you want to go and look that up. Like, if you're okay fighting some of the Mavericks with just the Mega Buster, then that's kind of your way to go to get the game done a lot quicker without any of the repetitive parts. Like, in that route, the only level that you actually have to go back to is Tunnel Rhinos, and that's because you need the Thunder Attack to break the rocks to get, I think it's the Heart Tank and the Armour upgrade. I think the Sub-Tank's the one that you can get just on a standard playthrough. You could just kind of kick your way up to a higher platform, but now if you want the other two bits and pieces that you can find in there, you do need the Thunder, I think it's Thunder Triad. It's the one that forms that triangle attack around X, and so you need that, and if you fully charge it, then it just does like a little electronic earthquake, and it just drops all the rocks in the screen, and so you can get to places you couldn't before. But yeah, like, I don't completely hate X3 from my experience playing it like a lot of people do, but I will say it's a lot weaker than X1. X1, I know that's not really a fair comparison, given X1 is like one of my favourite video games ever, but still, you know. But now we are in Jupiter's stage, and Jupiter is the 5th planet from the Sun. It's the big gassy one that I think is supposedly really light, from what I've heard. This isn't something I've looked up recently, so I could be completely off whack on that, but despite its size, I believe because it's so heavily based of gas rather than solid objects, there's really no weight to the planet at all, really. It's a big fucker. I can't actually remember what the boss looks like because I was so invested in my X3 tangent, so it'll be a bit of a surprise to me. Again, like I say, it's been a little while since I've recorded this, and some of the star droids, I don't really remember their looks off the top of my head. I recognise the stage. I remember the stage's gimmick is that the outside section you got space physics, but once you go inside they're gone. So you've got to be quite on the ball as to whether your jumps will be especially high jumps or not. And that, I don't know why you have to go up there just to come back down. I seem to recall this is where I'm getting the crystal, so it's one of those cryptic things. Yep, there we go. And that crystal there, I'm doing this the long way, but I seem to recall if you use the fully charged Mega Arm, you can pick it up. Because one of the attachments that you can get for the Mega Arm is it just withdraws itself and picks up items along the way, rather than just giving you like a free hit. So if you do that, then you can pick up extra items. That might be a thing that I unlock later on. I can't remember which order I got things in. I don't really have a typical strategy for a lot of Mega Man games the same way that I do with some of the others, because like Mega Man X, I basically always go the same order. That's like the defined order for me, the fact that I go Chill Penguin, Storm Eagle, and go through that route. And same with... well, actually, no, it's not the same with Mega Man 2, because Mega Man 2, you can actually be really flexible with your route. There's not really a bad choice to go first, unless you go for like maybe Quick Man or Heat Man, because their levels can be a bit of a pain in the ass without certain upgrades. Even then, like Quick Man, you can do it, you just got to be fast with the little wall laser thingies. Like Mega Man 1, I nearly always go Bomb Man, then Guts Man, Cut Man, and follow through that weakness order. But yeah, when it comes to the later games that I haven't really got too much experience with, I tend to use guides as a weakness reference and just sort of pick one and then follow through in weakness order, and I don't really deviate from orders that much. I know I'm not like the most creative player when it comes to Mega Man, like in that respect, but I'm not really one for the kind of experimental gameplay. I like to take it easy, take the casual route, not waste too much time like trying this thing. If it doesn't work, trying another thing. That's not really my style. I like to just know what I have to do, with the challenge being actually doing it. And that's why some kinds of games aren't really my thing. Like platformers are pretty approachable with that method, because it's mostly just go right, and the challenge is like, how do I overcome this enemy that I need to beat, and how can I do that efficiently, how can I do that effectively, and how can I do that without dying. And that's the engaging part of the gameplay. Compare that to, like, say, adventure games, where part of the challenge of those games is that you're just trying to figure out what to do using the items in the area or the characters in the area. Although saying that, I have actually been playing more adventure games in recent times, because this actually started when I was asked to record Trilby's notes for Tom and Helldragon of HFC, and like I was just doing that as a favour because I had the means to record the game and they didn't. But I kind of took a liking to that game's universe. It's the third game in the Chizo mythos, the games that Yahtzee made using, I think he used Adventure Game Maker, or one of those software game maker tools. But I've since replayed like 5 Days a Stranger, and I've become more familiar with the series on the whole, and like, although I don't care for the figure out what to do element of it, and adventure games in general, I find a lot of those games, from what I've seen, actually have quite compelling characters and stories. So that's both the Chizo games and also things like Monkey Island and like the Quest games that Sierra did. I kind of find it a bit of a shame that the gameplay isn't to my taste, and so I end up being like the interface between the guide and the game for when I'm playing those kinds of games. But I don't know, like the characterization in a lot of these stories does kind of make it worthwhile for me. To get back on topic, we're now in Saturn's stage, and Saturn is the last of the star droids that we need to fight in these Robot Master stages, because that's what they are. And you can see me using the retrieving items Mega Arm power up here. Like I picked up a few extra items on my way to where I am so far with it. But yeah, Saturn is the 6th planet from the Sun. It's the one with all the fancy rings around it that's honestly aesthetic as fuck. But Saturn is the Roman god of agriculture. And I'm not sure how they got that name assigned to the planet with all the rings and whatnot. Like, that doesn't seem like an agriculture thing. Even in terms of like the colour scheme, it seems a lot more of a modern thing with the yellowy gas and the slick rings around it. But hey, I didn't name these things, I wasn't even around then. So like, I'm bringing pointless nitpicks, and yes, that's another gimmick in this stage. That those arrows show changes in gravity. So if it shows 0.5, that means that the gravity is weaker, so you can jump higher. Whereas if it's showing 2.0, that means it's double gravity, so you can't jump as high. But yes, here is Saturn himself, and I do like, in terms of his design, how he wears the ring like a kind of sash. It's just round him, that's his reward. No, I wasn't bothering jumping over him at all there, because it's quick just to use his weakness on him and get him taken out pretty quickly. But yeah, that's now all 8 of the Star Droid enemies out of the way now. And that just leaves someone else we had a bit of conflict with. To start the game, we may have to go after Terra again, because naturally when he first sent Dark Moon, the Yellow Devil clone, on us in the first part, that wasn't enough for us to get him off our back. And I do kind of like the way that the password system is made up of his name just scrambled, the Terra, that fucking mouthful. I can't remember what the one in the last game was, but I seem to recall that being a bit of a mouthful that I tried to pronounce as well. So yeah, one last little check in with light here before we head on to fight Terra. And that is the thing that we got from getting all the crystals, because like I said, I kept my promise, I got all of them. And naturally, because we got him all the pieces he needs, we don't need to expend our P-chips on this as well, which is kind of useful, you know, saves me having to go grind for more P-chips in the other levels, so that's always useful. I did kind of have the advantage here in that, because I'm playing this with an emulator, I have save states to back me up along the way, so I didn't need to worry about spending my P-chips on things like E-tanks and the like, because if I fuck up, then I can try again rather than have to worry about healing myself. But here's the guy himself with his really wacky hair that looks almost like it should be a saw blade. That'd actually be kind of a sick design for a Robot Master or a Star Droid or something, actually, if it had like a saw blade on its head. Mega Man gets in a bit close and suddenly he gets hurt by the saw. Maybe a little bit lethal, but Mega Man's definitely seeing worse at this point. And he's doing the Dr. Wily tactic from, I want to say, the Mega Man 4 NES final boss. I think it is Mega Man 5 final boss, where he walks in and out, although in Wily's defense the logic there is that it's a dark room and so it could probably disappear into the light and phasing out, whereas here, I guess Terra just has teleportation, maybe? But either way, it's not an overly difficult boss, as you saw there. Just, I guess, try not to get in his line of sight too often and you should be safe. I just shot him with the standard buster and not much trouble was had. So basically, Terra's weapon is the Gemini laser, but not ridiculously slow. That's honestly kind of useful, because that was the big drawback of Gemini Man's weapon in Mega Man 3, in that, yep, it's cool that it bounces off walls, it's cool that you can kind of aim it and get another hit in and whatnot, but it goes so slow and it chugs out of the game. So to be able to get that power in a fast weapon is useful. And I recognise this motif here, with the skull on a giant ship. Yep, it's Dr. Wily, who'd have guessed? Is he behind this? What do you bloody think, Mega Man? But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, join me next time for part 3, the finale of Mega Man 5 for the Game Boy. See you then.